If you've followed my work, you know that I consider omega-3 fish oil to be an indispensable part of my daily regimen, and that I've recommended it for my patients and followers for decades. If you're already taking omega-3s, you should know that I've discovered a product so special that it's become my go-to brand. Dr. Jeffrey Bland, one of the luminaries in the world of complementary health, takes omega-3s to a new level. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health is a premium blend of pure oils from wild-caught Alaskan cod and sockeye salmon, sourced from the pristine waters of Alaska. Unlike most other brands, Omega-3 Rejuvenate does it differently. The product comes straight from the sea into the hands of skilled fishermen, instantly flash frozen, and taken to their specially designed shoreside plant using a low-heat technique to extract the pure amber omega oil that contains all natural and abundant full-spectrum omega-3s, including EPA, DHA, as well as DPA, plus all natural vitamins A and D, and naturally occurring pro-resolving mediators to support cardiovascular, cognitive, and immune health. Their unique process preserves the natural goodness of the fish, so you get maximum benefits in every soft gel. No fillers, no shortcuts, just pure, potent wellness. Visit bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and experience the difference. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman for Omega-3 Rejuvenate. Use coupon code Hoffman20 for 20% off site-wide. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman, on a topic that we often get a lot of questions about. Today we're going to talk to a physician who is renowned for her advocacy of and her explanation of magnesium. She is the author of one of the most popular books in natural medicine, The Magnesium Miracle, and she has long advocated, well before it was popular, for the deployment of magnesium for prevention and treatment of a variety of conditions. She's known to many of you, Dr. Carolyn Dean. She is both an MD, medical doctor, and an ND, a naturopathic doctor, an interesting combination that I'm going to ask her about. And she's also author of a powerful new book, Exposing Sugar Toxicity, a Clinical Perspective. And I have long known Dr. Carolyn Dean for many decades, but it's been a while since we've talked, and I look forward to this opportunity to pick her brains on the subject of magnesium. So welcome, Carolyn. It's a pleasure having you on Intelligent Medicine. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ron. And you said pick my brains. Let me dive in.
Okay.
Did you know that brain neurons, each neuron in the brain has 2 million mitochondria?
Wow.
2 million.
Each neuron. And how much? There must be millions of neurons.
86 billion.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm pretty sure it's billion. It's not trillion. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So what does the Krebs cycle do in the mitochondria? It makes ATP energy. And what is needed for ATP energy? Magnesium. So ATP is actually defined as ATP-mg. So right away, the brain needs so much magnesium. We're not getting it. We have epidemics of dementia, Alzheimer's. They're trying to figure out, what is it? Is it tau? Is it, layer protein? Is it toxicity? It's kind of all those things, but I think all those things are treatable actually by enough magnesium, and nobody is getting enough magnesium. So I begin.
Okay. Well, so how prevalent is magnesium deficiency? And I think that's the big reveal here, is that according to even a relatively conservative survey, the NHANES study, which is a popular way of assessing the adequacy of nutrition for Americans, I think magnesium deficiency was astoundingly prevalent. Or let's also distinguish between deficiency and insufficiency. I think that's important.
Right, because some of the studies say 70% of the population is not even getting the RDA, recommended daily allowance. So we're not meeting even the basic needs. And 100 years ago, we were getting 500 milligrams of magnesium in an ordinary diet. Now we're lucky to get 200 milligrams. So we've got a situation where it's not in the soil anymore. It's processed out of, cooked food. People are under more stress. Even the Wi-Fi, the EMFs, electromagnetic fields, they create these calcium channel problems, which allows too much calcium into a cell. And magnesium is supposed to be there to keep the calcium out of the cells. You don't have magnesium, you're going to get problems with Wi-Fi. It's just so immense, the whole magnesium story. And what I'll say now is 80% of known metabolic functions require magnesium, and 800 enzyme processes only work if they have magnesium. Used to be 300, 325. We've got references now for 600 and 800. So that's the whole body requires magnesium. I mean, I have a dietary supplement company. We don't have to talk about that, but I have a special.
We will. It's fine. We can mention that because I think people might be interested because it's a high recommendation coming from you who's done so much research on the subject of magnesium.
Right. Yes. What I found is people, if they get enough magnesium, a liquid form of a stabilized magnesium ion, they can start detoxing. They can start going through things that you only expect if you put people on a liver cleanse or, something really dramatic. If you get enough magnesium and you get 80% of your no metabolic functions working, then some of those functions are going to be detoxification. Back to the brain. If you've got a buildup of heavy metals in the brain, what's happening on cells who have like mineral binding sites? If you don't have enough minerals, you are going to start binding heavy metals, toxic heavy metals. So again, magnesium as the base, but then you look at all the other minerals that are no longer found in our water supply. Look what we have to do to our water. We filter it to get out the toxins, poisons, drugs, and all. Well, it takes out the minerals as well, and we're not replacing them.
This is so-called soft water, where we demineralize. Actually, soft water is mineralized, but distilled water, water purification systems that take out the minerals, then you get basically kind of the white bread of water, highly processed and without delivering the mineral content.
Right.
So there are several conditions which are associated with low magnesium. You met hundreds perhaps, but in particular, high levels of stress deplete magnesium.
Yeah.
But also high blood sugar levels and diabetes, very much associated with low magnesium, and the requirements are greater. Then there are medications that people take, the diuretics, for example. They also deplete magnesium. So
proton pump inhibitors.
Yes.
Proton pump inhibitors, they have an FDA black box warning saying magnesium deficiency. And so you started with the sugar. Yeah, in our medical text, they say one of the signs of diabetes is magnesium deficiency. And who even looks at that? I think what happens, Ron, is that at the medical academic level, we don't learn about nutrition or minerals or anything. And then the blood testing that's done for magnesium, it's a serum magnesium.
Yeah.
And that it obscures the fact that there's only 1% of total body magnesium in the bloodstream. So you're putting your dipstick in something that's so minuscule. But even then, it's a really tight amount of serum magnesium, the range. And why that is because magnesium is so crucial for the heart rate, for the heartbeat, that if it's low, immediate feedback mechanisms pull magnesium out of muscles and bones. it always looks like your serum magnesium
Yep.
is good. It's in range.
I want to
Why
share an
even,
I want to
why
share
even
an anecdote with you on that. If you excuse me for a minute, and it has to do with the fact that you and I have both been in clinical medicine. We've tested innumerable patients for magnesium levels, and the vast majority of people who walk into the office who are relatively healthy and come to us as clients or as patients, we test them for magnesium, and it's in the normal range when we use that test, which is not very sensitive. So, flashback to 2006. I was riding my bike, came back after doing a 30-mile bike ride, and lo and behold, they say, the last, your last ski run of the day is the most dangerous. I was just riding the last few feet up to my apartment, and I hit a pothole, and my bike flipped, and I broke my leg. I couldn't get up. I broke my leg. I had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was in excruciating pain. And they gave me morphine, of course. And I said to them, and they hung, the IV, the fluids. And I said, give me some magnesium. And the reason for that is that people who are in shock, and I was in shock because it was, traumatic injury, always low magnesium. And magnesium is important, especially if you're in shock. And they said, well, we'll do some blood tests. We'll have to wait for the results because we can't just give you magnesium. We have to wait until we see the blood test results. Well, sure enough, a couple of days later, I'm in the hospital and I've actually had surgery. And the nurse comes in, hangs a little bag, into my IV. And I said, what's that? And she says, oh, that's the magnesium. I said, well, oh, that's interesting. I asked for the magnesium 2 days ago. She said, how come I'm getting the magnesium now? She said, well, your magnesium levels came in low. Now, again, 99% of the patients who walk into the office have normal magnesium. But I was so battered that I actually had, according to this not very sensitive test, a low magnesium. But there are other ways of testing for magnesium, right?
Well, symptom-wise, I mean, the eye twitching, the Charlie horse leg cramps when you stretch, the even just headaches, even tension, any sort of ache or pain in your muscles or joints or bones, because magnesium and calcium, they're kind of evil twins. The magnesium relaxes after an action that's caused by calcium. But if you let calcium ride on with its activity, you can, what is it, Blaylock, Dr. Blaylock calls exciting
cytotoxins, yes, excited.
Yeah. Exciting the cell to death. So magnesium pulls calcium out of the cell and the cell relaxes. So if you don't have enough magnesium, your body stays in a tension mode, which causes more stress and pulls magnesium from your muscles and bones. Here's a sidebar anecdote. You've heard the name Dr. Mildred Zelig.
Of course, yeah. We also used to I refer to you sometimes as the magnesium lady, but she was also referred to as the magnesium lady.
Yeah. When I was writing my magnesium book, The Magnesium Miracle, I phoned her up to interview her because she's a magnesium expert. She's not a bench researcher as the Doctors Burton and Baltura.
Burton Altura, yes, right here in New York. He was at Downstate. Downstate,
they're
right?
So famous, and they said, "Well, we're bench researchers. She's just an expert." So I never call myself a researcher. Mildred said her first job out of medical school was in a drug company where she was supposed to analyze what happens to the body's minerals and nutrients when you take a drug. She said that most of the drugs that she gave to the subjects, their magnesium levels would become elevated when they took a drug.
Okay.
And what do we think about that? We think the body is trying to detoxify that drug, get it out of the system. So the body pulls magnesium from muscles and bones and makes it look like you've got,
so there's like a false elevation. So in effect, you're intracellularly where it counts. the magnesium is becoming depleted, but it appears to be higher in the blood. But that's just an artifact of the stress. Right.
So she went to her people and said, look, I think some of the results of our drugs are due to magnesium. We've got to figure this out. So they didn't listen to her and she quit and then became a magnesium expert because she saw, how important magnesium is on all levels. And we've already talked about that, but that we've said the serum magnesium isn't going to work. When my company did university studies, what we used was an ionized magnesium,
which is the Burton-Altura method, which I have to say, outside of research laboratories, I think I was the only medical center clinical practice to use a machine. We bought specifically a machine that measured ionized magnesium because that's the kind of bioavailable, body-ready, active form. So we use the Burton-Altura method.
Awesome. That's fantastic because that shows what the cells of the body require is an ion, not just of magnesium, but an ion of a mineral. It cannot accept a mineral compound too big to get through the mineral ion channels. So my research, we used, as I said, the ionized magnesium test, but it just hasn't gained traction.
Right.
And it's very unfortunate because you do not even see a blood sample for magnesium on an electrolyte panel. You do
exactly.
not.
You have to order a special. It's not routinely done. Yeah.
No.
But frankly, just a serum magnesium, kind of worthless. But ionized magnesium, that could be meaningful. We found that about a quarter or a third of the people who came to see us had actually low ionized magnesium, and they needed more. The research that Burton-Altura did was on patients with migraines, and he would take patients with migraines, and he said not all migraine patients respond to magnesium, but the ones who had low ionized magnesium, their migraines got better, even immediately when they got an infusion of magnesium on IV.
Mm. Yes. When you can't measure magnesium before some sort of magnesium study, then how can you trust the results? You think of all the vitamin D research. Magnesium is necessary to activate vitamin D. So what happens with these vitamin D studies, that's why they
just give vitamin D alone without the cofactor that activates it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
and then they demonstrate, vitamin D doesn't help. It's worthless. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they label these studies erratic. We can't trust them. So this is part of the problem with nutritional research, that the doctors who are doing research now, they never learned about nutrients in medical school. So, Ron, think of this athletic carbohydrate study where they did 600 study, kind of a meta-analysis report. Took them 5 years, and they were trying to figure out if carbohydrate loading was good for athletes or not good for athletes. You know the study I'm referring to?
I'm familiar with the issue, but not that particular study. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It seems to be big news now on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I reviewed it. It's 100 pages. They did not once mention minerals.
Oh, well.
They did not once mention magnesium. They talked about the most important factor in an athletic performance is brain energy. They said when the brain perceives that the body is slowing down, it will give you signals, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm interpreting that back to our neurons, our 86 billion neurons, and each neuron 2 million mitochondria making brain energy, and they require magnesium. They also require B vitamins and a few other minerals, but ATP-MG, not a mention of it. So we've got a real problem, trying to encourage people in nutrition when all that the research is about the macros and not about the micros. And the micronutrient research They're researching synthetic vitamins to a large extent. When you talk about high dose B vitamin therapies, those are all synthetic.
Yeah.
The body doesn't necessarily treat synthetics the same way as they do natural vitamins, and we really don't have the research on that.
Okay, folks, at this point, let's pause and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with you. So here goes. Listen up.
Kyolic aged garlic extract is considered by many to be the GOAT of garlic, the greatest garlic supplement of all time. For over 50 years, Kyolic aged garlic extract has been the trusted choice for millions for safe, effective cardiovascular and immune support. Aged garlic extract's effectiveness is well documented in over 900 published scientific papers and studies. Kyolic aged garlic extract is created by aging organically grown garlic for up to 20 months. This unique aging process makes aged garlic extract gentle on the stomach, eliminates the offensive garlic odor and taste, and results in safe, beneficial compounds found only in Kyolic aged garlic extract products. Whether you're seeking ways to maintain healthy cholesterol or blood pressure levels, or strengthen your immunity, there is a Kyolic formula right for you. Visit Kyolic.com and learn about Kyolic's many health benefits. That's KYOLIC.com. Look for Kyolic at natural health stores nationwide and online.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine continuing free resource to you. And now back to today's guest, Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle. When it comes to strength, endurance, athletic performance, are there studies that suggest that magnesium is helpful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe breaking down lactic acid, the VO2 max is increased. There's so many aspects. As I said, the actual ATP energy, that's what gives us our energy. If we don't have enough magnesium, then our energy fails. I mean, I'm 77 right. Well, no, 77 next month. And I feel better now than I did in my 30s when I was very magnesium deficient. When I started the Random House book, The Magnesium Miracle, in the late 90s.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's one of those perennials that's been around forever. Yeah.
And I updated it in 2017. I realized that I was severely magnesium deficient. I was in my 50s then, I guess, 56. Yeah. So I had the neck tension, insomnia, leg cramps, a little twitchy, but I still was high performance. I was running on my adrenaline. And when I did the research for the book, I said, oh my gosh, I'm the poster child of magnesium deficiency. When I went out to the drugstore to get something more than just my 50 milligrams in my multiple, I got the laxative effect.
Yeah. But that's the problem for a lot of people. They don't tolerate magnesium. How do you get around that?
Well, I had to get around it because I had really bad heart palpitations, not atrial fibrillation, but,
Skip
running.
beats. Yeah.
Skip. And so I spent, 10 years in Epsom salts baths and irritating my skin with all kinds of...
Does that work? Is there really... because they sell magnesium lotions and you can go in an Epsom salt bath. Do you actually absorb some magnesium that way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And I had to do it that way. And I searched all the mineral companies who were using my book to promote their magnesium. I said, you've got to make a non-laxative magnesium. And, oh, no, we're doing fine. Don't worry. So I found a chemist who had some ancient formula, an 18-step process to stabilize mineral ions. And in our university study, when you take a bottle of our magnesium and you shine what's called a zetasizer, Zetassizer. I think it's like a laser you shine through a liquid to count the solid particles. No solid particles.
So it is completely soluble, completely dissolved and dissociated.
Yeah. So the magnesium part and the chloride part, we start with magnesium chloride. The the two parts become ionized, and that means that picometer-sized stabilized ion will just zoop right into your cells.
Okay.
And that on the skin, right away in. So that's what saved me from not being able to take more than 50 milligrams of a magnesium compound. I was taking 1,200 milligrams of my magnesium.
Wow.
Yeah, for a year and a half. At which point I was totally saturated. I could go for a couple of days without taking magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go on and off. I was in N=1 study. So at that point, I started to get a little laxative effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I cut back.
It was almost like your body had enough and was telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. So presently I'm only on like 450 milligrams a day. But when I came to Maui, I live in Maui, and I was walking more and swimming and out in the sun and all the rest of it, I needed more magnesium. When I eat a quart of yogurt over a couple of days, more calcium than I'm used to, I need more magnesium. You know, I'll get a twitch back or my heart will jump.
They compete with one another a little bit.
They do. They do. When you have calcium in your system, it will stay in your body. Calcium is constipating. Dairy is constipating. And what you need is magnesium to solubilize the calcium and direct the calcium toward the bones and teeth. Magnesium does that. Vitamin K2 does that. So, for example, I have a D3 that I add the K2 with it. So there are all these interactions that I've learned over the 50 years that I've been at this, that, as I said, no one was giving me a non-laxative magnesium, so I had to make it myself.
So, you know, something I remember from clinical practice, you know, silly little part of the exam is, you know, you take this little rubber hammer out and you tap somebody's knee.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of a ritual you do, like, you know, mostly unless you've had a spinal cord injury or something or a stroke, you know, you're going to have a reflex, right? But what's interesting is that low magnesium people, their leg will flail out, you know, like an exaggerated reflex. And I noticed that when we gave people intravenous magnesium, like really high dose, we could almost abolish that reflex. It would just be like a little, barely a movement, because you're actually reducing the nerve excitation. And that, for a lot of us, is a good thing, because we are on a hair trigger when it comes to our nerves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. It's fascinating because we've had customers who've been so magnesium deficient. It's probably, you know, a bit genetic, but one customer, he was taking protein pump inhibitors, heartburn drugs, and that depleted his magnesium. He wouldn't stop them. So he was actually going into the hospital 2 and 3 times a week to get IV magnesium to deal with his protein pump inhibitor, you know, side effects. So he started to take our liquid magnesium. We tell people, put it in your drinking water, put some sea salt in your drinking water to get some other minerals, and just drink it through the day. And he got off his IV. And then that convinced him, I was really stupid. So he stopped his protein pump inhibitors. But what I think happened as well is magnesium is necessary to help make hydrochloric acid in the stomach. So his heartburn symptoms probably got fixed up as well.
Wow. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about your formulation. It is an ionically stabilized form of magnesium. That's magnesium chloride. Now, you can just buy ordinary magnesium chloride, but it's not going to be ionically stabilized. It'll be partially, but yeah.
The way to explain that, and it is a bit tough for people who, you know, didn't do chemistry. When you have a compound, it's made of 2 different elements, magnesium and chloride. In the bloodstream, mineral compounds can dissociate into their separate ions.
There's the magnesium and there's the chloride, just like salt is sodium chloride. Yeah. And then you get the sodium and you get the chloride. Okay.
But With magnesium, it's very hyperactive. It's got 2 electrons in the outer ring, all that stuff. Magnesium is used in fuses. Magnesium is used in fireworks.
Yeah.
So it's very reactive.
Yeah.
It will bind right back up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that magnesium will bind to is fluoride. So if you've got someone who taking fluoride treatments, dental, fluoride in their toothpaste, fluoride drugs, did you know that like 60% of the commonly used drugs are fluoride drugs? They have a fluoride molecule or 6 in their molecular structure. And in the microbiome of the stomach, you can break down these drugs, like an antibiotic. Cipro is a fluoride drug.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you've got in your microbiome, you can break down drugs. They don't break down in the petri dish in the lab. So the drug companies say, "Oh, the fluoride's fine. It's not going to hurt you," but that fluoride can free form in the gut and bind with magnesium and make magnesium unavailable.
So fluoridation may actually induce population-wide magnesium deficiency.
Yes.
Wow.
So the compound magnesium fluoride, it's called cellate. It will deposit into tendons and ligaments.
Oh.
The black box warning on Cipro
Absolutely.
is tendon rupture.
Yes, and I've seen it. This made me seem like a wizard once because I was at a birthday party for some young people. It was like, and a gal walked in with a cast on her lower leg, and I said, "What happened?" She said, "Well, I had a tendon rupture." I said, "You by any chance weren't taking Cipro, were you?" And he says, "Yes, I was taking it for urinary tract infection." She looked at me like I was Svengali,
Yeah. You know what the worst fluoride drug, it's inhaled anesthetics.
Okay. The fluorinated hydrocarbons. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're in surgery, you wake up with heart palpitations.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, then you need a beta blocker. Oh, we should have given it to you before surgery."
Right.
You have a magnesium deficiency induced by that drug.
Wow.
So I want everybody to take as much magnesium as they need for all the symptoms. I pulled that. This is my updated book, Magnesium, the Missing Link to Total Health. After 2017 edition of the Magnesium Miracle, it became 600 pages.
Because a lot has happened in the science. I mean, you were prescient in talking about magnesium in the 90s, but there's been so many developments on the scientific front since then. You had to update the book. I can understand that.
Yeah. So this, I made it in bigger print and just a couple hundred pages. But seriously, Ron, I have over 68 different magnesium deficiency conditions that are called diseases that are treated with drugs. And you've got everything from asthma to depression to fatigue to fibromyalgia to...
We used to clear asthma attacks with a magnesium IV in our clinic. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, I've a lot more to discuss on this subject. And as our listeners know, we divide our podcast into 2 parts. In part 2, I want to talk about the various forms of magnesium, because there's a lot of choices. You could take magnesium citrate, you could take magnesium glycinate, you could take magnesium taurate. There's a lot of different types. So maybe you can run that down for our listeners and just give us a heads up on your website where people can find out about your magnesium formulation.
Okay, so the magnesium compounds don't mean a thing.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in part 2. But before we sign off for part 1, how do people find out about you and your magnesium formulation?
Right, my educational website with my podcast and blogs and all, drcarolyndean.com, and my store website is rnareset.com.
Okay, so it's Carolyn with an Lyn, Carolyn, and it's DAN, MDND. And we'll be right back to continue our discussion of the Magnesium Miracle. And also, we're going to segue to the new book, which is Exposing Sugar Toxicity a clinical perspective just out from today's guest, Dr. Carolyn Dean. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast.